Hey, it's Danny with Words Are Matter. Let's talk about the toxic linguistic cultural mind virus that is the phrase toxic masculinity. Ugh. Please do not use this phrase ever. Toxic masculinity is not a thing. It is a means of mind control and cultural engineering that has been dropped into the collective lexicon to divide and to separate. And it is not helping anything. Toxic masculinity is a phrase that is steeped in hierarchy and judgment, right? The word toxic means that something is poisonous, is deadly, is icky. The fact of the matter is that the masculine has a shadow just as the feminine has a shadow, which is why you also don't want to be using the phrase toxic femininity. It's just as gross and just as divisive. What the phrase toxic masculinity does is it places a judgment on the masculine shadow. So let's talk about the masculine shadow. The masculine shadow is aggression, it's violence, it's sexual coercion. We all know the realm that it is. And it is absolutely on men to come into right relationship with their shadow. We don't come into right relationship with our shadow by shaming our shadow, by labeling our shadows as toxic or poisonous or bad. All that does is keep us in a quantum entanglement with our shadows because we're giving them negative energy, we're rejecting them, when the way to come into right relationship with shadows is to accept and embrace with unconditional love, to accept and embrace, yes, these are my shadow qualities, and I am in a constant dance with them as a human being incarnate on a third dimensional planet of dualistic polarities. We do not want to shame our shadows. We do not want to judge our shadows. We don't want to label our shadows toxic. It's a way of shaming the masculine, and it's not the way to come into right relationship with the masculine, which I've already said. It's not a way to heal the masculine. It's not a way to balance. It's a way to chaos. By the same token, there is a feminine shadow. What is the feminine shadow? The feminine shadow, which is not the toxic feminine, again, because we're not judging it, the feminine shadow is gossip. It's relational separation and mindfuckery. Us Magazine and that giant gossip industry. That is all reflective of the feminine shadow, which is just as damaging in its own way as the masculine shadow. And it's for everyone to come into right relationship with the masculine shadows and their feminine shadows. And the only way to do that is from a place of neutrality and unconditional love and acceptance. We all have shadows. All of us, 100% of us. The Dalai Lama has shadows, and Ramana Maharshi had shadows, and Jesus had shadows, and every human incarnate in a meat suit in this dimensional realm has shadows. So the way that we come into right relationship with our shadows is to acknowledge that they exist, to acknowledge that we have them in our field, and then to negotiate with ourselves to be in integrity and to vibe high and to be good people and to contribute positively to society. So this means for men, look at the inclination to want to penetrate that thing, to want to kill that thing, to want to convince this person to come back to our hotel room, whatever, to observe the shadow inclinations and to accept them from a place of unconditional love and acceptance. Oh, look at that aspect of me wanting to kill, penetrate, coerce, whatever. That's so interesting. Can I love and accept this part of me without acting on those urges? So that's a way to come into right relationship with the masculine shadow, which every man alive has. As far as dealing with the feminine shadow, it's to look at my urge to gossip. It's to look at the urge to backbite. It's to look at the urge to triangulate. It's to look at the urge to tell a secret. It's to look at the urge to sell someone down the river because we had a weird kerfuffle and my ego hasn't integrated that wound yet. It's to observe the inclinations to act on the shadows and to hold the aspects of ourselves that are inclined to act out on the shadows with unconditional love and acceptance, and then to transmute the urge to act on the shadows into something that's more healthy, more useful, and in higher integrity. And that is how we come into right relationship with our shadows. It isn't by shaming and by otherizing and by labeling them toxic. It's by working with them in an intelligent and unconditionally loving manner. To this end, I encourage you and me and all of us to not use these terms, to not give your power and your sovereign mental authority away to this egregious social engineering and to these toxic cultural linguistic viruses. They're not a thing. So I encourage us to not sign on and to view these things as shadows to come into right relationship with. Thanks for paying attention. Remember, every word matters. You are omniscopic amazingness. Have a rockin' day. Mwah.